Ukrainian forces have retaken more territory from the Russians in the south. The focus is near the city of Kherson, in one of the regions unlawfully annexed by Russia last week. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky says his troops are making rapid and powerful advances against Russian forces, and dozens of settlements have been recaptured from the Russian military in the south and the east. Over the weekend, Ukraine retook the strategic eastern town of Liman, which the Russians had been using as a logistics base. But both sides paid a heavy price for the fighting there. Our senior international correspondent Orla Guerin sent this report, which does include some distressing images.
Driving into Liman, now liberated soil. Ukraine is clawing back territory. It has the momentum. But among the ruins, victory can look bleak. Further in, the wreckage of war. And among the pines, there is death. Along the roadside, evidence of the human cost of Russia's defeat. The bodies of fallen soldiers still lying where they fell. Ukrainian volunteers keep watch over the dead, trying to help identify the remains. Unknown soldiers in Vladimir Putin's war. Some clustered together. Once they were someone's husband or someone's son. A few steps away, a Soviet book for teenagers entitled Adventure Library. And something else Russian troops left behind. Deadly anti-tank mines, barely visible. What happened here wasn't just a defeat for President Putin, it was a complete humiliation. Ukrainian forces head for new battles. They know they need to move fast. Soon freezing winter weather could slow their advance. Orla Guerin, BBC News, Liman.
Let's go live to Kyiv and get the latest from our correspondent Hugo Bashega. Hugo, how much momentum does there seem to be in these recent Ukrainian gains in the south and in the east?
Well, Karen, we're seeing the most dramatic shifts on the front lines in the south of the country since the start of this counter-offensive. The Ukrainians are pushing ahead. The Russians are being forced to leave some positions in the Kherson region, and the Ukrainians are advancing and recapturing villages along the Dnipro River, which is acting as a natural barrier in that part of the country. And the reports we're hearing from Russian sources suggest a very difficult situation for thousands of Russian troops positioned in these areas. So we should see the Ukrainians making some gains and more gains in the next few days, and recapturing more villages in that part of the country. I think here the key target is the city of Kherson, which is one of the largest Ukrainian cities in Russian hands. It is the only regional capital under Russian occupation. So we should expect some intense fighting in the battle for the city of Kherson when the Ukrainians reach the outskirts of this city. And in the east, the Ukrainian army are fortifying their positions around the town of Liman. We've been talking about Liman for a few days now, a major logistics and transport hub in the Donetsk region, and it is a strategic city for the Ukrainians because it gives the Ukrainians a position to reclaim territory not only in the region of Donetsk but also in Luhansk. So major changes on the front lines with massive gains for the Ukrainians reclaiming territory in two different regions of the country.
And we've been hearing in recent hours that more than $500 million of additional military aid has been promised by the US to Ukraine, including HIMARS rocket launchers. How much of a difference does Ukraine say this sort of assistance is making now?
Well, you talked about the HIMARS system, and this is a piece of military equipment that's been seen as vital in this counter-offensive. It has given the Ukrainians the ability to target Russian positions away from the front lines, deep inside Russian-controlled territory. So it is very significant, and I think with this new wave of assistance being promised by the US, I think the total of military support that's been committed by the Biden administration is now at $17 billion. So obviously it's been vital for the Ukrainians, this level of help, but in particular these rocket launchers that have given the Ukrainians the ability to strike positions away from the front lines, giving them this kind of momentum in this counter-offensive.
OK, Hugo, for the moment, thank you very much. Hugo Bashega in Kyiv.